If your goal is to do this, then keep watching. Hey guys, my name is Ferguson, and this channel is all about helping you guys reach your tricking goals. I may not be the best tricker, but hopefully my experience can help you guys become the best. This is a tutorial for a gainer flash, or a flash gainer. So jumping right into it, make sure you have your slant or cheat gainer first, and then all you have to do is stop looking over here, and then instead look here. And then you're done. Yeah, I feel good about that one. All right, sick. Yeah, good tutorial. Okay, but seriously, it is sort of that simple. Once you get yourself a good slant or cheat gainer, it's not very hard to turn it into a gainer flash if you know what you're doing. But a gainer flash is a really good progression to cork and gainer switch and a bunch of other gainer variations. So I think it's something that's really important to learn and understand the difference between a slant gainer and a gainer flash, even though they are very, very small differences. They're basically the same move, and the level of inversion is really what changes whether it's a slant gainer or cheat gainer or a gainer flash. But there are a few other tiny details that I'll go over in just a little bit to kind of explain the difference. I personally actually had gainer flash a long time before I had slant gainer because I learned it after doing a backflip and I wasn't able to understand how to go on a 45-degree angle, so a slant gainer was actually something I learned after a flash gainer. But my recommended prerequisites for this is only a slant gainer. If you don't have a slant gainer, I will show you really quickly how to get a slant gainer and then a flash gainer, but I really think that you should get a slant gainer before watching this video. You can go ahead and watch my slant gainer tutorial right there if you need it, and then come back to this video, but let's go ahead and move on. You could also have a tucked gainer. That's another method that I'm going to use to teach you. Thanks, Liam. So there's 3 different methods to this tutorial, but all of them are gonna be relatively quick and relatively simple. This is a relatively basic move, but it's kind of hard to make it look super good depending on how you want it to look. It depends on what you want. But let's go ahead and get to the quick tutorial. Okay, so what is a gainer flash? A gainer flash is basically just a slant gainer where you keep your leg extremely straight and you go backwards and fully invert rather than going on a 45. However, you're always gonna sort of be on a little bit of a 45 depending on your setup. If you're doing it out of something like a B-twist or a cork or something, then you might have a little more inversion. But if you're doing it out of a J-step, it's really hard to make it fully inverted because your hips are always going to be slightly sideways just because the momentum is going sideways and then swinging over the top. If you want to make it even more inverted when you're learning this, then you can do it out of a pivot step. That makes it a little more inverted, but you're going to have less power. So just be careful and decide which one you like to do. You can always do both. That's kind of my motto. Learn it a bunch of different ways and figure out what works best for you. But essentially it is a gainer mixed with a flash kick, or literally a backflip where you initiate by swinging and holding your leg extended the whole time and landing on that kicking leg and making sure you flip all the way over the top and stay fully extended pretty much the whole time. All right, let's get to method number 1. So for method number 1, I think you should just do it from a slant gainer. If you get your slant gainer and you have it solid and you can extend your leg, then all you gotta do is really do what I was saying at the beginning and change where you look, right? So all you're gonna do is practice your slant gainer, look over the side, get comfortable with it, and then once you're pretty warmed up, just start changing the angle that you're looking higher and higher and higher until you're looking backwards, and you can spot the ground for a long time before you actually land your kicking leg, and then you got yourself a gainer flash. It's really simple. Essentially just wherever you're looking, you're driving your leg in that direction and that level of inversion. So the more you swing and use your arms and arch your back as you're kicking through, the easier it's gonna be to invert. All you gotta do is stop being scared and look backwards. Just make sure that you have a really solid slant gainer if you're using this method, because you don't wanna just huck it and land on your head or your back or injure yourself. But if you've had a slant gainer for like 3 to 6 months, then you should be more than physically and mentally ready to do a flash gainer. Basically, you're just doing whatever setup you want, and then you are changing the angle of that kicking leg over and over again as you're looking backwards, and you got yourself a gainer flash. The next method is by using a flash kick to get your gainer flash. So this is actually kind of similar to how I got it. I knew a backflip and I worked on slant gainer or cheat gainer for a long time, but I just couldn't get it down. I kept like missing my feet, or I just couldn't understand the sideways axis. So I just started doing it like this. Basically, what you want to do is do a scoot to flash kick or another setup to flash kick, because it's a really easy setup to do, and it's not something like a round off or something, because it's kind of weird to swing your round off. It's not impossible, obviously, but something like a scoot, a master scoot, touchdown rise, something that's going to flip you but also be easily controllable, is going to help you the most with this. So go ahead and just do a scoot flash kick and make sure that your kick is really strong and you are trying to look backwards, spot the ground, and kick down towards the ground really hard. Then it's as simple as missing your foot. Do a scoot a few times and just make sure that you swing really aggressively and you kind of like look backwards as you do it, so that you get that kind of like butterflies feeling in your stomach when you're swinging. You're like, oh, okay, I don't know, that was a little spooky. Then you're probably ready to go for it. And once you've missed the ground a few times, it's time to just go for it. Basically, you're just doing your flash kick and you're missing your foot and you're swinging over and you're doing a flash kick but off one foot. It's really that easy. The thing that's gonna hold you back on this setup or this method is fear. Like if your scoot to flash kick is really strong and you know you can flip over really well, and you've tried swinging a few times, even if you like warm it up and go around the side, then you should be able to do it. If you get freaked out, you can always catch with your hands. That's why I say that spotting is like key. If you spot the ground before you're kicking down towards it, so you swing, you look back, and then you see the ground, and then you kick down towards the ground, it's gonna help you a ton. Because if you're short, then you can just catch on your hands and just macaco out or backhand spring out, and then you'll be safe. So spot your landing. And practicing this way can also help you learn to invert more, because if you swing and you can't really do your macaco because you're twisting too much, then you're twisting too much. You need to go backwards more and more and just try to land on your hands more like a backhand spring, and then you'll either get it that way or you'll have swung really hard at the beginning and just get your gainer flash. And the last method is one that I skipped over for my flash kick tutorial, but I'll add it later when I do backflip. But anyway, what you're going to do is a swing tucked backflip or a tucked gainer and turn that into your flash kick. So this one's a little weird, but I've seen a lot of people who come from G-Tramp or parkour or freerunning that don't really understand how to extend, but have really strong gainers off ledges, gainers on flat, tucked backflips, and things like that. So if that's you, this might help you. Warm up your tucked backflip, make sure that you can grab and you can do it without grabbing. If you got both of those, then you're ready. Essentially, all you have to do is do your tuck gainer and slowly separate your legs. Make sure that whatever leg you swing at the beginning is the leg you land on. So I swing my right leg because I twist to my left. So I want to make sure that when I swing up, no matter how much I tuck, I land on my right leg first when I'm trying to turn it into a flash kick. And even if it's just tap tap and I just like hit one right before the other, then you're making progress towards your flash kick. And again, it's pretty simple. Just slowly separate your legs more and more and slowly work on extending your body more and more. And instead of actually tucking, just staying open, landing one leg before the other, and then you just gotta swing it really hard and focus on arching and looking at the ground, and you should be able to kick all the way through with that right leg and make it a flash kick. obviously left leg if you twist on the other side. I figured I'd cover most of the form and the mess ups and common mistakes, but those are 3 different methods you can use, and all of them are relatively easy and quick in my opinion. So before we get to common mistakes, I wanted to explain to you the difference between a gainer flash and a slant or cheat gainer. So essentially, in definition, it's gainer flash is where you kick here, and then a slant gainer or a cheat gainer is where you kick on a 45 to parallel axis. That's really it. But there's a bunch of different nuances, right? So if I do a swing like I'm gonna do a gainer flash, but then I tuck and I rotate kind of sideways, like almost like a gainer Arabian, then most people would still call that a cheat gainer because it looks like you're going around the side and cheating even though I'm pretty inverted. And vice versa. If my leg is really extended and I'm kicking really strong like I'm gonna do a gainer flash, but I barely invert at all and I just go around the side, then it does not look like anything most of the time. It doesn't even look like a slant gainer really, because it looks like I'm not even like doing anything because my leg goes up and I don't leave the ground much, and it just looks like I'm stepping over. But I'm going on a slant gainer axis. All I have to do is tuck my leg a little bit more and then it'll look like a cheat gainer. It's kind of strange, but essentially you want to invert more to make it a flash gainer, invert less to make it a slant gainer. The whole point of the differentiation is a gainer flash is truly inverted. Even if you're slightly on a 45, like maybe this much or something, your head is underneath your hips and you are kicking really strong, and you are inverted. Even if you are fully inverted or slightly off to the side, you are still inverted more than you are horizontal. So closer to horizontal, a slant gainer, closer to inverted is flash gainer. And essentially you're trying to learn your flash gainer or learn to invert more by doing a cheat gainer. It's just terminology. Anywhere from here to here with a really extended leg, doing a gainer is a flash gainer or a gainer flash. On to common mistakes. The first most common mistake I see is not spotting. I see people swing and then kind of just space out and then kick over and then wonder why they didn't land. Look for the ground, look backwards, try to find the ground, and it's gonna feel like you swing and you kick up. Then when you see the ground, you kick down towards the ground. It kind of feels like almost like a cartwheel when you're landing, because when you're coming down, you can see the ground and you just kick really hard towards the ground. And then when your foot touches the ground, you just stand up, or right before your foot touches the ground. But essentially, if you are still spotting over your side, but you're kicking straight over the top as hard as you can, you're most likely gonna go around the side, because that's just the way your brain works. Your eyes tell your feet where to go when you're doing any kind of jump. So make sure you are looking backwards, but you're looking for the ground and not just looking backwards and then staring at the sky when you're trying to do this. The next common mistake I see is not fully extending your swinging leg. This is a fully extended kick. You're gonna have to swing as hard as possible, and you're gonna have to not necessarily point your toes. You don't have to point your toes, but you're gonna have your leg fully extended to be able to flip yourself all the way over and make it look like a gainer flash. Sometimes you'll see people swing over and their leg is like pretty tucked up, but they still went over the top, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's a gainer flash, but if you want it to look better, just fully extend your leg. The best tip I can give you is it kind of feels like a glute bridge or a hip extension. If you push your foot out, but then you push your right hip kind of forward a little bit, then that's going to help you fully extend because your hip is in line with your body rather than being concave. It gives you a lot more power in things like 540 and a bunch of other flips too. Fully extending the hip like that, I mean. And the next common mistake I see is not arching your back. So when you are kicking up and you are looking backwards, obviously you're going to have a little bit of an arch, and most people understand that, but really what I mean is holding the arch the whole time. So the more you arch, the easier it's going to be to invert, because your head is continuing to go under you the whole time. And then especially when you kick down, there's a tendency to tuck in a ball because you're using your core to kick. But basically what you want to do is when you see the ground and you're kicking towards the ground, actively pull your head backwards and away from the ground by arching your back, and that's going to help you get your head up faster and rotate you faster underneath, so your landing is going to be a lot lighter than if you were tucking. So focus on arching your back, not only the beginning, but also the middle and the end. But that's about it for gainer flash. I hope this helped you get or improve your gainer flash. If it did, please leave a like on the video. Please leave a comment down below and let me know if this helped you, or if there's something else you want to see from me. I am going to be doing all the basic flips, including backflip, and I'm also going to be doing double leg this summer. I just want the weather to be a little nicer before I do it, so I promise those are coming. But if you'd like to subscribe and wait for that for this summer, then please do. So please subscribe so that you can help me on my quest to 1,000 subs. Until next time, please stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys later.